My son had just come back to his duty station at Bethesda Hospital in Maryland. He had been home for the past 2 weeks helping me with a family emergency. First thing he noticed was the lack of his mates around the hospital. That is when he found out most had been deployed to the USS Comfort heading south after the tragedy of Hurricane Katrina. Jeremy decided he should volunteer, but he was informed that he would have to pay for the trip on his own, as he'd used his leave for his last visit home. He grabbed 2 of his buddies and they hopped a bus from New York to Pennsylvania. It's all they had money for. Then they hitchhiked to Florida, where they met the USS Comfort coming round the bend from New York and hopped on board. They sailed into Mississippi as the Army and National Guard had been deployed to Louisiana, Alabama, and Texas. What they found was devastating. The air was silent except for the sound of the Mississippi River lapping on the sides of the ship. As they made port, they got an emergency call to turn around and head out to sea as Hurricane Rita was heading in. The ship made it into the Gulf, but that was the last I heard from my boy. For 2 weeks I didn't hear a word. I made phone calls trying to get news, but as there was a war going on, they wouldn't release any information. Just tell me if the boat is right side up or upside down. That's all I need to know, I'd say. Yet they wouldn't give me any news. Now, when it comes to my kids, I'm not one to take no for an answer. My brother-in-law was a chief petty officer in the U.S. Air Force. I gave him a call. I told him my dilemma, and Joe, in a strong Boston accent, informed me that he just happened to be in Galveston, Texas, and he could take care of it right away. "Let me do some checking. I'll call you back later today," he said. He hung up. He grabbed a helicopter, flew out to the USS Comfort, which was on the outside of the Gulf of Mexico. The ship had taken light damage from the hurricane, and everyone was running about cleaning it up. Over the intercom, "HN Chu, head to deck." Jeremy was taken aback, but he ran up. He was met by his Uncle Joe, who he had never met, standing in uniform by an Air Force helicopter. He saluted. Joe walked up to him, and in front of all those young sailors, he reached in his pocket, pulled out a $20 bill, and said, "Call your mother." He turned, got back on that helicopter, and flew off. Joe called me back, told me what he'd done. We laughed about it, and I can still imagine the confusion that must have crossed my son's face to have an officer land on his ship and hand him a $20 bill.